Everyone, my name is Charlie, and today I have a book unhaul for you. I am currently being watched very curiously by my dogs as they have no idea why I'm sat on the floor in the living room when there's every chance that people might come home in a minute. And that is simply because I have a rather large box of books, have no editing software, and yeah, that's it basically. So I'm having to use YouTube. And it's not the most reliable of software, I don't think. Anyway, I was inspired to do this by Sam over at Thoughts on Tomes. I always rather enjoy unhauling books, and so when Sam recorded her video employing the KonMari method, I kind of followed her example and unhauled quite a large amount of books. And now my father's phone's ringing, and I'm just going to I'm gonna have to go and answer it, aren't I? Alright, so now that my brother's been told that my father isn't at home, let's just get on to unhauling some books. I like to regularly unhaul books. Sometimes it feels like there's a great weight on your chest of books that you have accumulated and you don't necessarily want to read anymore. There are definitely some in here that are maybes, but for the most part I'm just emptying my collection. And hello, dog that has just arrived. Hello. So, the first book that I'm getting rid of is Idaho by Emily Ruskovich. This copy, has never actually been read. And that's because I read a review copy on my Kindle, thoroughly enjoyed the most part of this book, but there didn't seem to be any resolution to the story, and I'm going to be taking this one to the writers group to see whether there's anyone there who would like to read it. Next I have Sorry to Disrupt the Peace by Patty Yumi Cottrell. Again, I just couldn't get through this book, so it's going to the writers group to see if anyone there wants to own it. And it's a shame really, because I rather enjoyed the inside cover of this with its bright green words. Next we have The Lesser Bohemians by Amy McBride, and again this was mentioned in the first part of my November wrap-up that I tried this, got through about 100 pages but just couldn't cope with it. Enjoyed the almost iambic pentameter style to the prose, but for the most part couldn't really get behind it. Did try selling it on eBay, that went nowhere, so it's just being beggared off really. Next, I already have someone in mind for this, and it's A Portable Shelter by Kirsty Logan. I actually put this on eBay with a rather high buy it now price because I was not particularly wanting to get rid of it, but I just didn't enjoy it enough to save it, and I didn't enjoy Kirsty Logan's other book, The Gracekeepers. I've got rid of that already, so I feel like I ought to get rid of this too, and I know who I'm going to give this book to. Next, I have Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Now, everyone knows I really enjoyed Cress by Marissa Meyer when I was reading young adult fiction a lot, but now I feel like I might have outgrown it a bit, and I have tried to get back into this book on numerous occasions, and it did end exactly how I thought it was doing. I just ended up skimming the last bit to see whether I would have ever enjoyed it, and I know that I never would have got through this book, so I'm going to give it to my cousin because I think that he is writing a fantasy novel still, and I think that he will enjoy this a lot more than I did. Next, I am getting rid of The Antiques by Chris D'Agostino, and I really, really am frustrated by this, but I've held on to it for as long as I could. I hate this book. I do. And I only kept it because I spent the most I've spent on a book this year on this book, and it's going to a charity shop, and hopefully someone can buy it. It was called one of the best books of this year, and I disagree. Next, I am getting rid of Angel Catbird by Margaret Atwood and these other people because, yeah, didn't enjoy it. I'm finding that I'm not really the biggest fan of Margaret Atwood's work, and, you know, she doesn't need me as her fan, so I've actually already got rid of all the books I owned by her, and I didn't enjoy this. I felt I just never really seem to be able to get Margaret Atwood's humour, and she seems very aware in her prose that she's trying to be funny, and it just really rubs me the wrong way. So this is going. Then I'm getting rid of A People's History of Britain by Rebecca Fraser. I borrowed this from work earlier this year with the hopes of reading it during non-fiction November, and I never did, and I never think I will, and I know there's someone at work waiting to read this, which is why I'm taking it back so soon. Next, I am getting rid of We All Begin as Strangers by Harriet Cummings. I read this earlier this year and did not enjoy it. Someone described it as similar to The Trouble with Goats and Sheep, and although I can definitely see that, I think that Joanna Cannon did it better, but I do have someone in mind to receive this book. Next, this one was hard for me, but it is A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James. I have tried to read this book plenty of times. I really enjoy the first voice within this novel. I think that it's definitely Dickensian in scope and ideas. I am really glad that Marlon James won the Booker Prize in 2015 with this. However, because I have been disappointed by too many books from that year, and because I wasn't particularly able to enjoy myself with this book at all, I have decided to give it away. Next, I'm getting rid of The Upstairs Room by Kate Murray Brown. Read this earlier this year, didn't enjoy it, so this is probably going to go to the charity shop and see whether anyone there wants it. Next, I'm finally getting rid of The World Without Us by Muriel Jucao. Now, this is from really early in this year, and I did not enjoy it, but I kept it because I thought if I reread it I might be able to enjoy it more and understand more of the metaphors, but it really just wasn't doing it for me, and so I've made the decision to finally get rid of it. I really waited before I chose to unhaul it. Next, I am getting rid of You Got to Be Kidding Me by Chelsea Handler. I really enjoyed watching Chelsea Handler's stage show of this, so I read the book, but it's just the same jokes repeated in this format, and I just didn't care for it. Next, I am getting rid of The Cosmopolitans by Sarah Schulman, and I've actually discovered I've bent this book up a bit by leaving it at the bottom of this box, but it'll probably straighten out when I put it between some hardbacks, hopefully. Yeah, I've been trying to read this for years and never got around to it. In fact, did I get it last year? I think I got it in 2016 and just it didn't do anything for me. Next, I have my first maybe in this pile, and it's 4321 by Paul Auster. This is one that you could persuade me to keep maybe, because I didn't really put it in this box until last week. And came out this year, was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, and the first page did make me laugh, but I've heard a lot of criticisms of it, and it's quite a lot to dedicate myself to, and I found the prose becoming quite dry within the first 30 pages. I'm just not sure whether I can cope with that for another 900, so if someone could let me know what they thought of it and whether it is worth giving it a go, do, but for now it's firmly a maybe. Next, I have The Year of the Runaways by Sanjeev Sahota, and this is just basically a book that I've never been able to get into again, and it's been 2 years now since it was shortlisted for Booker, and similarly to the other books from that year, I just never had any interest. It came in a box from the book people for £30, and because there were so many in there that I wanted to read, I didn't mind so much about spending the money to get this as well. This just turned into a book that I'm questioning keeping already, and it's Curtain Call by Anthony Quinn. I like the sequel Freya, and I still haven't read Eureka, but I only borrowed this book from the charity shop, and I know I could get it from the library. So yeah, it's definitely going. It's going on the Unhaul pile, because whilst I want to read it to hear about the other characters within the story, knowing I can get it out of the library doesn't necessarily mean I have to keep this book that I borrowed. We're at the surprise part now, I'm just reaching in. Oh, A Cat, a Hat and a Piece of String by Joan Harris. I found a matte cover edition that I prefer more, so yeah. Just don't know what I'm picking out now. The North by Paul Morley. I was going to read this for Non-Fiction November and just ended up not really necessarily enjoying it. Found it a bit... yeah. It's 500 pages about the north of England. And whilst I am from the north, and I really felt like reading this back then, I'm not sure I want to read it now. Next we have A Company of Liars by Karen Maitland. I know I can get this from the library. I've been trying to read it for about a year now and it's not happened, although it has a really nice cover and it's mixed with magic. It reminded me somewhat of Joanne Harris, but it's going. Then we have The Raven's Head by Karen Maitland, similar decision as the last one. The Accidental by Ali Smith. Basically, I had these books that I'd borrowed from the charity shop and just decided that I was going to borrow them from the library because the two that I had I just couldn't get into, and I think I will try because I feel like I was forcing myself to try and read it, so I'm just going to wait until it's in the library and just borrow it from there. Now, I have 3 of the Elmore Leonard books that I borrowed from work last Christmas, which are Gold Coast, The Hunted and Tishomingo Blues, and then I have the one that started all of this off, which is Valdez is Coming. And basically, I just realised that the joy that I'd felt finding these books and reading them, but they are just like books that I want to read and then give back, so I'm like, I know that they have them all at the library, so what's the point in just holding on to these when I can get them out of the library when I want to read them, return them, all that fun stuff. Next I have The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. I'm going to borrow this book from the library when I feel like it. It's not the one that most people enjoy. Whilst I did enjoy The Goldfinch, looking back on it I feel like it was a bit dry and I begin to have more problems with it. Definitely a book I want to reread in future to see whether I still agree with it about how I thought it explored grief well, but I'm going to borrow this from the library if I ever get the inclination to read it. This one, again, is a maybe. It's 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is the edition that I wanted to read. It came into the shop, I bought it. It's a bit yellow around the edges, but yeah, it's just a book that I should read, because I know some people say that stuff was lost in translation when it was made into the Spanish, taken from the Spanish, so let me know your thoughts as to whether I should read this one. Then I have The Winter King by Thomas Penn. I borrowed this book for Non-Fiction November, didn't read it, never tried the prose at all, and just decided that it ought to go back to the shop, considering I did borrow it from there. Next, The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis. Never read it, borrowed it from the shop, it ought to go back. And then Sebastian Barry's Days Without End. I did not like this book, and so that's going to be returned to the charity shop as well. Now this is a strange one because my friend Joy really liked this book and shared it with her husband who also really liked it. Although just a ton of people really like this, but I've got all my reasons as to why I dislike this book, so vehemently mentioned in one of my wrap-ups or maybe even a review. Now I have to go into my rucksack, so excuse me here. Next, we have Commonwealth by Anne Patchett. Read this in January, saved it because I thought I might reread it one day, but I keep being reminded that I really didn't like this book, and I just don't think that I like this type of, this style that is so focused on character with little plot. I like plot within my stories, I've found. Next, I'm getting rid of The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Read this years ago, don't necessarily want to reread it, didn't really enjoy it back then. Next, I'm giving my cousin Tell the Wind and Fire by Sarah Rees Brennan, simply because I thought I'd already given him this book. Right, so we've had a bit of a change of scenery at the moment because I'm currently at my grandmother's. We're a day later because straight away as soon as that last clip ended, my father, sister and brother came home with the Christmas tree, and then me and the sister had to go shopping, and then by the time everything was finished, it was too late to really finish recording. And yeah, so basically this is the end of my unhaul. Next I have Heap House by Edward Carey, and this is a book that I bought when I first went to Whitby in 2013, and is a book I've tried to read on numerous occasions, and I actually think I'm going to be leaving here for my cousin's son. I don't know whether he'll like it at all. This book is... The reason I bought it was because it was somewhat gothic and apparently somewhat reminiscent of Victorian era, maybe Dickens, I don't know, but yeah. Memories of Dickensian London here, but I just didn't enjoy it enough. I tried a few times to get through it and couldn't do it, but I don't know whether it's because of my age, but we'll see whether my cousin's son likes it. Next we have Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo, and really I just did not like this book. I didn't care for this book, I did not care for the characters. I thought it would have worked very well as a short story, but as a novel it just lacked something for me. Oh, so that was going to the charity shop. Then I have Me, Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. Now, I first saw this a few years ago, I think it was on Jessie the Reader's channel, and that was when I was still reading contemporary young adult fiction and was really interested in reading this book. However, I've seen numerous reviews now, especially Thoughts on Terms video, who actually inspired me to do this huge unhaul, and because of that I was like, and what she said, I was like, yeah, I didn't particularly enjoy the book whilst I was reading it. I didn't care for the obnoxious characters, so I am going to take this one to the charity shop. And then I have Where Angels Fear to Tread by E.M. Forster, and basically I saved this book from a bin. Someone I know getting rid of this book, and so I thought, you know what, I kind of like this almost William Morris pattern. I don't know whether it was William Morris. Let me have a quick look. It does not say anywhere yet. Yes, it's a William Morris background, and I do have someone in mind who I think may get something out of having this book more than me, so I'm going to send a message to them, see if they want it. If they don't want it, I will probably donate it to the charity shop. Hopefully someone will want it, because my only issue is that I think it's got a bit of a classic cover and it may put off a few of our readers at the charity shop, so there we go. See, I only had 4 more books to get through. I do think that I will probably be bringing the Snow Like Ashes trilogy here when I finish it, because I do want to finish the series. That's the problem. I do want to read Frost Like Night, and I think I will read it this month, but I do think that then I will be bringing the books for my cousin, because he quite enjoys fantasy, and I think he'll enjoy the books more than I did, because I was finding more problems that I think he'd be able to... he wouldn't see them as problems, I don't think. I think they're very much his kind of fiction and not mine. I think I would have enjoyed those books years ago, but nowadays it's not really a series that I get much enjoyment out of. So yes, I do really want to reduce the amount of books on my shelves, but I think I've got them to the point that I want to read all the books there, and if I don't like them, I will unhaul them then. But for now, my shelves, one of the reasons I've not been recording in front of my shelves is because they are currently a mess, and I do really need to figure them out, and I'm just imagining them here right now. But yes, I think I want to read all the books that are there. I think hopefully I've reduced the reading list a bit further. I think my unread books is still quite a large number, and it's all because of series. It's all because of series. If we just put down the general fiction that I've got to read, the new releases and such, then I'd probably have a reading list that was below 30. But because of all these series, it's high. You know, it's a bit above 50. And I started in 2013 trying to reduce this reading list, and I'm still going now. Anyway, have you read any of these books? Are there any books on here that you'd particularly like to read? Because, you know, if you're in the UK, there's every chance that you'll be able to find them. I don't know, I'm not going to offer to send them to people because I don't have that kind of money right before Christmas.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.